January 15th, 2022, 4:15 in the morning, 200 meters below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, something woke up. Not a ship, not a weapon, not anything built by humans. A volcano, underwater, that hadn't erupted in over 900 years. What happened next lasted 2 days, and scientists are still measuring the effects right now in 2026. This is Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai, and most people have never heard of it. Here's what the numbers look like. The eruption released energy equivalent to approximately 61 megatons of TNT. For context, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated by the United States was 15 megatons. This volcano released 4 times that energy, underwater, with no warning. It sent a sonic boom circling the globe twice. It triggered a tsunami that raced around the world, and it blasted enough water vapor into the stratosphere to fill more than 58,000 Olympic swimming pools. The explosion was heard across the ocean in Alaska, around 6,000 miles away. One underwater volcano, 2 days, heard from 10,000 kilometers away. But here's the part that nobody was prepared for. Because it was an underwater volcano, Hunga Tonga produced little smoke, but a lot of water vapor. 100 to 150 million tons of it, the equivalent of 60,000 Olympic swimming pools, shot high into the atmosphere with the force of the eruption. Scientists had a model for how volcanoes affect climate. Big eruption, right arrow, lots of sulfur dioxide, right arrow, aerosols block sunlight, right arrow, planet cools temporarily. That's the textbook answer. That's what happened after Krakatoa, after Pinatubo. Hunga Tonga didn't read the textbook. It released far less sulfur dioxide than expected. That led some to believe its climate influence would be minor. Yet the opposite turned out to be true. All that water vapor ended up in the stratosphere, a layer of atmosphere between 15 and 40 kilometers above the surface, which is normally too dry to produce clouds or rain. Water vapor in the stratosphere has 2 main effects. It helps destroy the ozone layer, and it's a very potent greenhouse gas. Research shows the volcano can explain last year's extraordinarily large ozone hole, as well as the much wetter than expected summer of 2024. The eruption could have lingering effects on winter weather for years to come. One underwater volcano, still affecting your weather, right now. But Hunga Tonga is not the story, it's the introduction. Here's what almost nobody knows. Submarine volcanoes were once seen as secondary players in climate dynamics. Hunga is changing that narrative entirely. 80% of all volcanic activity on Earth happens underwater. Not on land, underwater. Most of it we've never seen. Most of it we don't even know is happening. There are an estimated 5,000 active underwater volcanoes on the ocean floor. But estimated is the key word there, because we've mapped less than 25% of the ocean floor in any meaningful detail, which means we don't actually know how many there are. We don't know which ones are about to erupt, and until January 15th, 2022, we didn't fully understand what they could do to the atmosphere above them. Here's what an underwater eruption looks like from the inside. Imagine a mountain range on the ocean floor, because that's what it literally is. The mid-ocean ridge system stretches 65,000 kilometers around the planet, longer than any mountain range on land, and it's almost entirely volcanic. Along this ridge, tectonic plates pull apart constantly. Magma rises to fill the gap. The water is cold enough that lava cools almost instantly, forming strange pillow-shaped formations that cover thousands of square kilometers of the seafloor. A lava field that looks like another planet, that nobody has ever walked on. Some of these eruptions create new islands, literally from nothing. Ocean, then rock, then land. In 2013, a new island appeared near Japan, Nishinoshima. It didn't exist before the eruption. It grew from the ocean floor to a landmass you could walk on in months. The ocean floor is constantly being rebuilt, right now. In real time, we just can't see it. Back to Hunga Tonga, because the story isn't over. The HTHH volcano last produced a massive eruption in 1100 AD, and such a massive eruption occurs approximately every 1,000 years. It erupted in January 2022. The cycle resets, the next one, in roughly 1,000 years. Unless something changes the timeline, and with shifting ocean temperatures, changing pressure systems, tectonic movement that never stops, scientists are very careful about the word unless. The ocean floor under the Pacific is not stable. It has never been stable. It just moves slowly enough that we forget it's moving. Here's what I think about when I look at satellite footage of that eruption. A mushroom cloud 57 kilometers high, visible from space. A sonic boom that circled the Earth twice. Weather patterns altered across the southern hemisphere for years. From a vent 200 meters underwater, from a volcano most people have never heard of. From the ocean floor that covers 70% of this planet and that we've barely explored. We like to think we understand the Earth. We've mapped the surface. We've cataloged the species. We've built systems to track the weather. But 80% of the volcanic activity on this planet is happening in a place we can barely reach, in water so deep, so cold, so dark that our instruments fail before they get there. The ocean floor is not sleeping. It never was. We just assumed it was quiet because we couldn't hear it. Subscribe to Wraith Depth, because we're just getting started.